What's up, guys, and welcome to Wall Street Millennial. We all dream about striking it rich one day and living the rest of our lives in luxury. But being wealthy comes with its own issues. No matter how much money you have, it can't solve all of your problems. As the Beatles famously said, money can't buy you love. Or can it? In this video, we'll go over the top most shocking cases of people marrying billionaires and celebrities. First off, we have Ellen Nordegren, who married legendary professional golfer Tiger Woods. Born in Stockholm, Sweden, Ellen rose through the ranks in her home country as a model. She appeared in many magazines, including once taking the cover of the prestigious Café Sport in the summer of 2000. She took a job as a nanny for Swedish golfer Jasper Parnevik's children, which required her to relocate to the US. At the 2001 Open Championship, Jasper introduced Ellen to the legendary golf star Tiger Woods. In 2004, the two got married in a $2 million ultra-luxury ceremony in the island of Barbados. In 2010, the couple filed for divorce in light of Tiger's infidelity. Ellen walked away from the divorce with a $100 million settlement. She used the money to buy a $12 million mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, which she demolished and had rebuilt to her liking. Next, we have Ivana Trump, the Czech-American former model and Donald Trump's first wife. She was born in 1949 in Czechoslovakia. In her early life, she was an avid skier, and it has been reported that she was selected as an alternate on the Czechoslovak ski team for the 1972 Winter Olympics. She moved to Canada in the 70s to become a ski instructor and model. Her modeling work included work for Eaton's department store as well as various promotional work. With some other models, Ivana traveled to New York in 1976, where she met Donald Trump. 1 year later, they were married, and then became tabloid figures in popular culture. While together, Ivana became intimately involved in the Trump business empire and held high-up leadership and executive positions. However, the marriage wasn't all celebrity and riches. Starting on a Christmas vacation in 1989, the two were seen fighting over one of Trump's previous relationships. Not long after, the two were divorced. Despite 4 prenuptial agreements negotiated between the couple over the course of their marriage, Ivana walked away from the divorce with many valuable assets, including a 45-room mansion, an apartment in Trump Plaza, and rights to the Mar-a-Lago resort. She also received $14 million in cash, which is worth about $30 million in today's dollars, adjusting for inflation. Shortly after the divorce, she started her own clothing line, fashion jewelry line, and beauty products line, which she sold on TV and QVC. She also bought a 33% stake in a Croatian newspaper company, as well as a real estate development in Florida. However, despite the cash and assets that she had from her divorce with Donald Trump, in 2004, her Bentley Bay development in Florida filed for bankruptcy. Next, we have British former model Heather Mills. Heather Mills was born in 1968 in England and modeled extensively in London in her early years. In her first marriage to businessman Alfie Karmal, she told her husband that she needed to move to Paris for 2 years for a modeling job, but instead used that time to have an affair with a millionaire Lebanese businessman and to take part in a nude photo session for a German sex ed manual. Only 2 years after their marriage, they divorced. In 1999, Heather met Paul McCartney at an event. 3 years later, they were married. During their marriage, Paul McCartney credited her with his inspiration for many of his songs. However, after just a few years, the two separated, and Heather said in several interviews that the reasons included her poor relationship with Paul McCartney's sister. It was also reported in leaked documents that McCartney sometimes became violent towards her, especially when inebriated. In the divorce case, McCartney offered Heather £15.8 million, worth more than $30 million in today's terms. However, Heather wanted more and asked for £125 million, or more than $300 million. The divorce judge gave her only £16.5 million in a lump sum payment, close to the $15.8 million that McCartney originally offered. In a blistering statement after the court hearings, the presiding judge said, quote, "The husband's evidence was, in my judgment, balanced. He expressed himself moderately, though at times with justifiable irritation, if not anger. He was consistent, accurate, and honest. But I regret to say that I cannot say the same about the wife's evidence. Having watched and listened to her give evidence, having studied the documents, and having given in her favor every allowance for the enormous strain she must have been under, I am driven to the conclusion that much of her evidence, both written and oral, was not just inconsistent and inaccurate, but also less than candid. Overall, she was a less than impressive witness." I find that, far from the husband dictating to and restricting the wife's career in charitable activities, he did the exact opposite. He encouraged it and lent his support, name, and reputation to her business and charitable activities. The facts as I find them do not in any way support her claim. In frustration at the verdict, despite being awarded the equivalent of $30 million cash from Paul McCartney's personal fortune, Heather Mills poured a jug of water on the head of one of McCartney's lawyers in the courtroom. Next up, we have Anna Nicole Smith, another former model. She first came to fame by starring in Playboy and modeling for companies including Guess, Lane Bryant, and H&M. Her second marriage, when she was 28 years old, was to an 89-year-old billionaire who made his money through the oil industry. 1 year after they married, he died, and she launched a legal battle to gain a share of his estate. The legal cases eventually reached the Supreme Court. Anna Nicole Smith was born in Houston. She grew up in a divorced household and failed freshman year of high school. In her second year of high school, she dropped out altogether and married her first husband 3 years later at the age of 17. Throughout her 20s, she was awarded modeling contracts for many magazines and clothing brands, and also made a career out of acting. Anna met 86-year-old oil tycoon James Howard Marshall while performing at a Houston strip club in 1991. Although she was still married to her first husband, she had an affair with the 86-year-old billionaire, during which time he reportedly lavished her with expensive gifts. In 1993, she and her first husband divorced, and 1 year later she married James Marshall. She repeatedly said that she married him for love, not money, despite many people speculating that she married him solely for his money. 1 more year after that, and he died at the age of 90. Because James Marshall did not include Anna in his will, she had to bring the case to court to ask for half of his estate. However, James Marshall's son objected, and the issue became a legal battle between the two. In 1996, Anna was convicted of sexual harassment of a nanny for her son and forced to pay nearly $1 million. Instead of paying the penalty, she decided to declare bankruptcy. An LA bankruptcy judge ruled that she should be given a little less than $500,000 of James Marshall's estate due to the increase in the value of his assets during the time that they were married. However, a different court in Houston ruled that she wasn't entitled to anything. In addition, the judge ordered her to pay more than $1 million in legal costs to James Marshall's son. Because of the conflict between the Texas and California courts, the case went to federal court. It eventually went to the Supreme Court 2 separate times, where they ruled against Anna. Another motion was filed after that for $44 million of damages from James Marshall's son, but that motion was rejected as well. When Anna was only 39 years old, she tragically died of a drug overdose. She was reportedly addicted to prescription drugs and also suffered from mental disorders. The legal battle over the James Marshall estate carried on after her death. Next, we have the former husband of popular singer Adele, Simon Konecki. They started dating in the early 2010s and had a son in 2012. In 2017, they got married, but only 2 years later, in 2019, they filed for divorce. The divorce was finalized in early 2021. Not much is known about the terms of the divorce because they signed a confidentiality agreement. However, due to Adele's significant fortune worth 9 figures, it is likely that Simon received a very sizable amount following the divorce. Next, we have Patricia Cheng, another former model who, oddly enough, is the second one on this list with an involvement by Donald Trump. Patricia was raised in Iraq and worked as a nude model for her first husband. However, in 1981, she traveled to New York City where she met the world's richest man, John Kluge. The couple fell in love and ended up tying the knot. After 9 years of marriage, they decided that they'd had enough, and in the divorce settlement, Patricia walked away with one of the most lavish estates in the country, as well as a sizable annual allowance from the billionaire husband. The mansion and estate, called Albemarle, is a legendary property that boasts a helipad, horse stables, and sweeping landscapes. However, Patricia managed to lose it all after trying and failing to set up a vineyard and winery. When her venture failed, she defaulted on her debts to several banks, and because she had taken a mortgage on the estate, she lost possession of it as well. She ended up losing everything and stiffed the banks for more than $40 million of money that they had loaned to her. But the legendary estate going on the market was not unnoticed by the world's wealthiest people. After the estate was foreclosed, Donald Trump managed to finesse the foreclosure process to get the estate for only $6.5 million, a small fraction of the original $100 million price. Under Trump's ownership, Patricia was relegated to working as an employee at the very winery which she had originally set up. To this day, she and her husband both work at the Trump winery, making a combined $250,000 a year. Despite having tens of millions of dollars of unpaid debts to creditors, she currently lives in a mansion near the winery, which she rents. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. What did you think about the people that made it on this list? Let us know in the comments section below. If you liked the video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for future content. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Wall Street Millennial, signing out.